Hey, welcome to Ones and Zeros. My name's Ben, and today we are doing the sixth video in our dev blog series. Much like the other videos, basically just a chance to give you guys an update on what's happening with the channel, what sort of videos we've got coming up, any other bits and pieces that we've got planned for the future, that sort of thing as well. First up, I would like to say a huge thank you to all of the people that have been watching the videos. At this point, we've had 1,620 views in the last 28 days, which I think is amazing. 263 of those videos at this point have happened in the last 48 hours. That makes me super happy, and I am really, really grateful to all of the amazing people that have been watching and leaving really nice comments and liking the videos and subscribing. Speaking of which, looking at the YouTube stats at the moment, we've just hit 222 subscribers for the channel, which again, I am super grateful for. It's really inspiring to me that people seem to be enjoying the content that much, and makes me want to push even harder to get more amazing videos out for you guys. So also a big thank you to our couple of patrons that we have at the moment, Craig and Luther. Huge thank you to you guys for helping to support the channel. If you are interested in helping to support the channel, I'll have a bit of a chat about that at the end of it. I don't want to do too much of a sales pitch at the start of the video. Let's have a look at some of what we've got coming up moving forward, because there is some videos that I think are going to be really cool. So first up, for our STM32 Basics series, I've got a giant list of videos that is starting to build up of things that I want to cover in there. So I noticed that there seems to be a lot of people that enjoyed the STM32 bus architecture video, and decided that maybe it's a good time to start getting a little bit more in depth with some of the stuff that I don't find is as commonly spoken about and things like that with STM32 stuff on the internet. One of the first things I want to have a bit of a more in-depth look at is the reset and clock controller, and clocks and PLLs and clock selection and things like that within the STM32s in general, as well as making use of things like the master clock outputs and things like that if you want to use clocks to help drive external devices. So we're going to be doing a video on that one. We'll also be looking at things like a video on power management, where we take a bit of a look at the sleep and standby states, things like that, methods of doing soft and hard resets, which can be useful. I also want to take a bit of a look at some of the other timer modes that we haven't discussed. So there'll be a few different videos coming out about those, as well as looking at how we can link multiple timers together so that we can have one timer triggering off another one for various purposes and things like that, as well as looking at things like the watchdog timers, which can also be super helpful in certain cases. So want to take a bit of a look at those as well. Want to do a video looking at being able to store data on the on-chip flash memory, so that we can look at sort of how that works and how to make sure you're not going to be overriding the code that's sitting on there and that sort of stuff as well, because that can be a really useful technique. And that's probably a small snippet of items that is on the list that I'm looking at the moment. As far as the STM32 debugging series, the next video that we're going to be looking at for that one will be using UART and serial for data logging and for being able to get information as far as error messages and things like that in a way that's nice and easy to go through, so that can be used as a tool to make life a bit easier when debugging devices. Some of the best practices that I like to use with that as well. And after that, for that series, I want to start getting into looking at using the CubeID debugger, so that we can see sort of things like stepping through codes, using breakpoints, how to use the debugger for seeing what peripherals are doing, all of that sort of stuff. So some cool stuff coming up there. With the Discovering STM32 series, the next video that I want to focus on for that one will be making use of the SDMMC peripheral and the SD card so that we can actually get data being read from and written to SD cards, which is really beneficial for being able to get data transferred over from a computer as well, much quicker than, you know, transferring via serial and things like that. Now, also noticed a lot of people seem to be liking the FPGA Basics series, which is awesome because I love FPGAs. I actually have a bunch of them sitting here ready to go for filming a couple of videos after this one, which is all of these guys here. There is more in the collection. This is the main ones that I have. So even though we use the DEOCV board for a lot of the stuff in the basic series, there is more in the collection that will be coming in future videos as well, not just for that series but for others as well. With that one, there's a few different videos that are going to be coming out that I am in the process of getting ready to film or doing the prep work for, including things like being able to configure inputs and outputs, which is a fairly simple thing, but just so that you can sort of see how that works. And then things like making use of ROMs, being able to build simple things like timers for triggering various tasks, state machines, shift registers, being able to do arithmetic, and basically we'll be stepping through all of the basics building blocks that you're going to need in order to start to build more complex systems. Speaking of which, there is another series that I want to start looking at, actually starting to develop a full-blown microcontroller inside an FPGA. So looking at getting the prep work done for that one at the moment. So the first video of that one will not be too far away. And then I also want to look at doing another video where we're looking at hybrid systems, where we start to integrate STM32 and other microcontrollers with FPGAs in order to create more complex systems so that we can leverage the convenience of writing code for a microcontroller with the hardware flexibility and power of an FPGA to create more advanced systems. So that's something else that I want to be looking at in the near future. There's another series that I want to look at in regards to the STM32s as well, which I'm in the process of starting prep work for as well, which will be called Expanding STM32, which is basically where we start looking at connecting STM32 devices up to external third-party devices. So everything from the GPIO extender that you may have seen in previous videos, different types of displays from LCD displays and touch screens to OLED displays, 7-segment displays, as well as character LCDs, things like that as well. All the way through to doing things like digital potentiometers, accelerometers, different types of flash memory. I've also got a GPS receiver which works over UART, which we'll take a look at in a video as well. So a bunch of different stuff for that one that is coming up. As far as our Unearthing C++ series videos, just recently released the first one of those for this year, which was looking at structures. We've got some coming up on looking at classes and singleton classes, things like enums and operators and a few other bits and pieces there that is in the works. And there is also another series which I'm hoping to get started in the next month or two, which will be where we actually start to look at QuartzArch OS. So in that one, essentially what we're going to be looking at is starting to build an actual operating system for STM32 devices on top of the driver stack and things like that that we've been developing in the basic series. So with that one, we're going to be looking at being able to do things like dynamically setting up interrupts so that you can reassign where the interrupt handlers are actually calling. Things like memory management, doing task scheduling, being able to make use of the memory protection unit in some of the STM32 devices so that we can do things like have your normal tasks only being able to access certain areas of memory, things like that as well, to the point where we'll have essentially a decent little operating system that can be just thrown at a bunch of different projects. And moving forward towards the end of this year and early next year, there is some really quite interesting projects that I want to start using the hardware to develop so that we can actually see how all of that works as well, and some of the real world uses that we can get happening out of all of the various devices. At this point, kind of just focused on making sure that we cover a lot of the simpler stuff and sort of build up from there. If you've got any suggestions or anything like that, stuff that you would like to see, definitely feel free to leave a comment. You can also jump onto the subreddit or send me an email. I am definitely open to suggestions. If there is something that you're suggesting that is not going to cost a lot of money if I have to purchase stuff, or if it's something that I find interesting and would be a good fit for the channel, chances are I'm probably going to do it. So feel free to leave suggestions there, especially if there's certain things that you'd like to be able to do with some of the hardware that we've been playing with. Good to see my headphones are messing up my hair again. So that's kind of what we've got happening as far as videos coming up. Now, the short-term list of the videos that are planned is available to the Patreon supporters, so that is actually up on Patreon, and I do modify that almost on a daily basis at this point, because as I'm coming up with an idea, if it's something that I've got the hardware for and can basically just start going on the actual prep work for the video and getting it ready to film, it'll go straight up on that list. And as I do videos, they of course get removed from the list as well. So if you want to get more involved with that, you can become a Patreon supporter. For some of the more advanced stuff that we're going to be looking at, as far as developing a microcontroller with an FPGA or the Quartz Arc operating system stuff, things like that, the source code for those video series will only be available to level 3 Patreon supporters. So that might be something you could be interested in once we get started with those particular video series. We also do have some behind the scenes videos and things like that, Q&As, that I want to start doing for Patreon supporters, which are some of the benefits for the various tiers as well. Plus the ability to join the Discord server and be able to more easily chat with me, ask me questions, things like that. So if you want to help the channel grow, that's one way to do it. You don't need to become a Patreon supporter though. Even if you click like on the video or even just watch the video, that's still really awesome and I'm super grateful. So one way or another, there's still going to be a ton of videos coming, and for all of the basic videos, as we've been doing so far, the source code for those guys is going to be available to everyone for non-commercial use on our GitHub. So other things moving forward, as I mentioned in the last devlog, I'm trying to get a bit more time sorted out so that I can actually start porting more code in between the different Quartz Arc code bases, so that we've got all of the drivers and everything spread across all of the different STM32 devices that I've got in the collection, so that you can basically just grab the code and start to set up whatever project that you want for that. That is a little bit time consuming, as well as going through and making sure that everything is slightly better commented than it is. I want to make the comments a little bit easier for people that may not be entirely familiar with sort of what we've done in the videos, things like that as well. So that is also something that's fairly time consuming. So that will hopefully be something that I will get some time to do a bit more of. I am thinking of doing the code porting and some of the commenting stuff in live streams on YouTube. So if you guys would like to see that, definitely leave a comment. Let me know about that, because that'd be kind of cool to do for some of that sort of stuff. Depends on if people actually want to see it though. So that's pretty much all I've got for the moment. Will be some more videos coming out over the next day or two. I'm going to be getting some more filmed after this one, so keep an eye out for those. And like I said, tons more videos coming over the next few months that are already in the process. So again, huge thank you to everyone just for watching the videos, for liking, subscribing, leaving awesome comments. Again, to Patreon supporters, because that's just amazing. And hope you all have a lovely day or night or morning or evening, whatever it is when you're watching this in your part of the world. And thanks for watching.